Hello everybody, it's Nancy and welcome to my craft room. Today I am entering some cards in the Paper Smooches Guest Designer Challenge, and the stamp set that I'm using is this cute little stamp set called Chubby Chum Pals, and I've got several ideas that I'm going to be using for a series of cards. But the first one that I'm going to do is this waterfall card that features the little bear. There's a stamp in the set that says bear hugs, and I've used that stamp back here with some distress ink to create a background. And then in the stamp set there are several little add-on stamps, like this little mustache, and then there are the little sunglasses, and I just drew some eyes on the sunglasses, and then the little hat. And then I took the stamp again and I put bear hugs down the end of the sentiment here. So what I'm going to do is show you how to put this waterfall card together. So I've gone ahead and I've stamped out some images that I'm going to be using on the card, and I'm going to set that aside. And then I've got some distress ink. It's vintage photo, and I've got a little sponge here, and I'm going to take a piece of really light cardstock, and I'm going to put some of the distress ink on it and then stamp it with the Bear Hugs stamp. So I'm just going to blend this in just gently. Don't need a lot of color. This stamp set I actually got at Christmas time and made a few Christmas cards out of it, and I may go back and revisit those cards and make another video using them in a Christmas theme. I don't need a lot of color on this, but I just want to take the white off and give it just a little bit of a background. And this card is bigger than what I'm going to need, but I've cut it down and used it on the piece of the card that holds the waterfall, so you will have extra. And I'll put the measurements. I bought this white cardstock in a pre-cut set. Now I'm going to use some dye ink, and it's orange soda from Hero Arts, and I'm going to use the Bear Hug stamp and just randomly stamp over the top of this card stock. There's no method to this. I'm just trying to get some interest on this piece of card. So I've got the second background all stamped out, and I'm going to take out a craft card, and I'm going to use this to assemble my cardstock onto. So I've got a piece of pattern paper that's cut at 2 inches by 9 inches, and then I've scored it at the 2-inch mark, the 2 3/4 inch mark, the 3.5-inch mark, and the 4 1/4 inch mark. And that's going to make the waterfall part of the card. Now you're going to need a strip of paper to hold down the waterfall. And what I've done is I've used a piece of that Bear Hug cardstock, and I've cut that at 1.5 inches by about 4 inches, and I'm going to layer that on a piece of craft cardstock. So I've gone ahead and colored most of the images, and They're all the same, so I left the last one here to show you how I did that. So the face, I'm going to use E02 and then just soften it up a little bit with E53. And I'm not doing anything special or fancy. I'm just trying to get some color down and make these little images pop. And then for the body, I'm going to take E43 and fill in the vast majority of the body. Just brush some color down. I'm not being very careful at all, just trying to get a little color down. Then I'm going to come back with E53 and fill in some color on his hands and his ears and the top of his feet here. And then I'm going to go back with my darkest color, which is E55, and again put a little more layer down here. I'm going to come down through the center of his eyes, and down here through his feet, and a little over here. And then I'm going to soften that up with the E43. Then I'm going to take the C1, the light gray, and kind of fill in his eyes a little bit. And then I'm just going to outline him, and I'm not going to be careful at all, just kind of going around the edges. Just to make it have a little depth. And then I'm just going to put a little on his body to add a little bit more highlights. Okay, so now I stamped out a mustache, and I stamped out the eyeglasses, and I used the C1 to fill in. And then I just took a micro pen and made some eyes. And I made two hats. The first one I've used Y02 and Y35, and then I made a second one using E07 and YR05. And then this is a little, I think I'm going to use this, the eyes and nose and the mustache. And again, I just drew some eyes on there. So I'm going to stop the video and cut the cards out, these images out, and then we're going to come back and assemble it. And I'm going to cut these in 1 3/4 inches by 1 3/4 inch squares. So I have all the images cut out now, and I'm ready to assemble the card. I used some glue to adhere the sunglasses and the hats and the funny nose onto the little bear. And you have to kind of let that set for a little while before you assemble the cards, so that you make sure that they're nice and tight. So the next step is I'm going to take all of these panels and attach those together. So I've got the craft card here, and then I've got a piece of pattern paper that's 4 by 5, and then this is 3 3/4 by 4 1/2 inches, and I'm going to assemble those two pieces together. Then I've attached this smaller piece onto the craft cardstock, and it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then this is about 1 3/4 inches, and then I cut this slightly smaller. And I'm going to use some brads to hold it together. So I'm going to punch holes in this first. Actually, I think I'm going to assemble it first, about 3/4 down, and then punch the holes on it, because it's going to fit together like this. And this will just be temporary to hold it in place. And then I'm going to hole punch this. Put the brads in place. I'm going to assemble this last piece of cardstock on top, and I'm going to use score tape so it holds it nice and secure. So now I have the base of the card put together. Now we're going to assemble the waterfall. So the easiest way to do this is to secure each of these images at the bottom of each of the score marks. So I'm just going to use a little tape. And secure those down. My hats are up over the edge a little bit there, so I'm going to compensate for that and just bring it down below the score mark. Okay, now when this folds out, we're going to see this. And so I'm going to stamp my sentiment down the middle here. And I'm using the orange soda again from Hero Arts, and I'm going to use the Bear Hug stamp that came in the kit. And I'm just going to stamp it down in a row like so. So now we have to let the recipient know that this needs to be pulled. So what I'm going to do is attach a piece of ribbon here, and I'm going to use this little brad to hold it down. So I've taken just a small piece of ribbon and cut it, and I'm going to fold it over like this, and I'm going to insert the brad into the piece of the ribbon. So the brad I was trying to use wasn't sharp enough, so I've switched. And I didn't have too many options, but this kind of catches a little bit on the card. So if you've got a flatter, rounder brad, that's what I'd recommend. But I'm just going to attach this into the card here. And then that will be used as the pull. So we're going to insert this here. And I'm going to take a piece of score tape and line that up on the front of the card here, and that's going to secure the card down. And so you just line this up where you're happy with it, and then press down on it. And then that makes your waterfall card. I really like the little faces. See how the brad is catching? I think if you had a flatter brad, you wouldn't have that issue there. So that's the card. If you like my videos, please hit subscribe, and you can follow me on YouTube, Instagram, or at my blog. Thanks for watching, and go do something creative today.